Okay, so sit yourself on to your left and then come into a good cross-legged position. So just have a little wriggle about, feel that you're sitting evenly on the seat bones, and then hold onto your knees, lift and open the chest, drawing your shoulders down away from your ears. Just look down at the floor, look at something that's not moving. Just soften the jaw, soften the gaze. Inhale from the bottom of the lungs to the top of the lungs. And then from the top of the lungs down to the bottom of the lungs. And then release your knees, bring your hands into Namaste. Just press the palms of the hands really firmly together. Lengthen from the hips up into the armpits, and the armpits into the elbows, elbows into the heels of the hands up into the fingertips. And with an exhalation, allow your eyes to gently close. Just focusing on filling your lungs evenly from the bottom to the top and emptying your lungs evenly from the top to the bottom. As long as there's no issue with heart conditions or high blood pressure, at the top of your in-breath, just hold the breath gently. So you just suspend the breath, so there's no strain. You just suspend the breath on the top of the in-breath. Just for a second or two, and then release with a normal exhalation, just deep exhalation. So we allow the energy of the in-breath to ingest into the blood a little more deeply. Just by gently suspending the in-breath. Remember, there should be no strain, no tension, just a suspension of the breath, and then you can just let the diaphragm go with the out-breath. And then just bring the breath back to normal, with no suspension. Draw your chin down to meet your chest. Spend a moment to seek to generate a genuine, heartfelt sense of gratitude for something or someone. Hold on to that feeling of abundance in the heart area. As you release the backs of the hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards, and then raise your head and allow your eyes to softly open. Just hold on to your knees, lift and open your chest, and then turn from remember the three-tiered stand, so turn from the abdomen, turn the ribs, turn the shoulders, and feel how you just stretch into your energy. So the stretch releases trapped energy and distributes it. Come back to the center, hold onto your knees, lift and open the chest, take a deep inhalation from the bottom to the top of the lungs. And then turn. Again, stretching into your energy. The more you intensify the turn, the more you access your energy. But do that with ahimsa, with non-violence. Just turn from the abdomen to the ribs, to the shoulders, keeping the neck soft. Just breathing into the pose, turning with the out breath. And then very gently come back to the center. Just come off your lift and then just sit back on your heels for a moment. Big toes are together, your knees are apart. Just spend a moment or two just establishing your shins on the floor. Just have a little wriggle into your inner heels so that the kind of outer buttock kind of comes into the inner heels, so that the little toe side of the foot is down. Just observe how the shins make contact with the floor, and then press the shin bone into the shin skin, especially where the connection to the floor is light. Suck the outer thighs in so that you can lengthen up into the chest. Feel that the front chest grows upwards and the back chest draws down like a waterfall, especially around the shoulder blades. And then come forwards, hinging at the hips, aiming to maintain the connection between the seat bones and the heels. Stretching your arms away, spreading the fingers, spreading the palms, and then bring your forehead down. Just breathing evenly and deeply. Attempting to lengthen the sacrum, spine and skin down towards your heels. And then lengthen from the hips into the armpits, into the elbows, into the wrists, into the palms. Suck the outer thighs in still so that you can extend into the spine more effectively. Come up onto your knees, turn your toes under, and then come up into dog down, Adho Mukha Svanasana. So have your knees bent initially, and then suck the outer thighs in with bent knees, and then feel that you can lengthen up into the front chest, descending the back chest, and then straighten your legs. Suck the outer thighs in so that you maintain that lift of the front chest. Just initiating the body into the pose into the body. And then step your feet forwards, just come up into a standing position and get your blocks for your hands for half uttanasana. Bring your feet as wide apart as your mat and turn your toes inwards a little so that you can feel that so you turn your toes in so that you can start to feel that the inner thighs rotate inwards. So the fronts of the thighs turn inwards as well. The inner thighs turn back towards the back of the room. Lift and open the chest. Drive your arms up towards the ceiling. And then stretch forwards, hinging at the hips. And then reach down and find the blocks. At this stage, just find where the body is willing to work and where the body is reluctant to work. Maybe one leg is more reluctant than the other. So just establish the pose. Establish the action of the legs in order that you can extend into the spine. Suck the outer thighs inwards so that you can, at the same time as sucking the outer thighs in towards the inner thighs, lift the inner knee up towards the groin. Project the chin and the chest forwards. Push your shins back so that your weight is in your heels. If you can come down a little lower, then do. Otherwise, if you're protecting your back, then just stay at the higher lift. Continue to work your legs. Continue to extend into the spine. Breathing, evenly stretching into your energy. Lengthening into the pose to release your energy, to wake up the body and to release your energy. If you can go down further, you can maintain that front chest lift and then reach around the backs of your heels. All the time being just really conscious of how your body is reacting to the actions today. So if there's one thing that practicing yoga does, it is the ability to bring your attention into the present moment. Because we don't just do the pose and then it's like, right, well, I'm doing it now. We do the pose and we try and feel the pose. We try and find evenness and levelness. And we maintain our observation of the pose. Even if you're in one pose for a long time, that will change as you stay and as you remain. So allow the asana to bring your attention into the present moment. And just be happy in the present moment. Be content with being here, working within just an individual pose. Not worrying about what you've just done in the pose, the next pose that you're gonna do. Just being in the pose and observing this specific moment. Just release your arms, come back to half uttanasana. Just be now in this moment of half uttanasana, letting go of the pose that you have just done, just observing how the pose feels now. Breathing evenly and deeply, just stay in Tadasana, Abigail, if you need to. And then just bring your hands into your hips and then come up into a standing position. Bend your knees on the way up if you need to. And then come into Tadasana. So just spend a moment in Tadasana. Just feel how the previous pose has activated the legs. Hopefully has activated the chest, the front chest, the back chest, activated the arms, the legs, the feet, the toes, the fingers, the neck, the head. Just be in Tadasana and just observe the feelings, the physical feelings of the pose. Observe your breath. Breathe from the bottom of the lungs to the top of the lungs, breathing evenly. Just draw your attention into this precise moment through the feeling of the pose. If there are areas of dullness, consider what you might need to do, what techniques you might need to apply that we have done in the past to bring the present into that area of dullness. Bring your arms out nice and wide. Just lengthen into the fingers, lengthen into the palms, really spread the palm skin. Spread the fingers. Don't think about where you're going next, just think about where you are now. Because now is in our control. The future isn't really. We can only do something now. And yet doing this will make you feel better later on in the day. So we kind of control the future by just controlling now, being in the present moment. What we can't do very much about is the past. So all we can really focus on is the physical feeling of now. So feel that through the physical pose. Maybe your arms start to become a little tired. Lengthen into the fingers more. Bring your arms in towards your chest. Step or jump your feet apart. Turn your left toes in, your right leg and foot all the way out. Apply the past into the pose. So apply the things that we have focused on in the past to really formulate your present pose. So the things that you have physically learned, bring those in. So if you focus on what we did last week, perhaps You can extend up into the spine. Come down into the pose, just be in the pose, feel the pose. But it's not just being in the pose and just thinking, right, that's it, I'm doing it. Come into the pose and then apply your learning from previous times that we've been in trikonasana. And draw that into the present moment so that you feel the pose in the present moment. Remaining soft in the jaw, soft in the tongue. Feeling that both arms are extending evenly. You're not collapsing down onto this right hand. You're lengthening out evenly into the arms, turning the chest like a cake stand. Reach up, come back to the center. Keep your arms outstretched if you can. Release them if you can't. Turn the legs to the left. Just breathe evenly. Lengthen evenly into both arms. Feel that you can activate your legs using the techniques that you have learned so that you start to, rather than just do the pose with the front brain, the cognitive brain, you start to do the pose with the cognitive brain, letting the cognitive brain inform the present moment, the learning brain. Come over to the side. Just feel this pose right now, using the poses that we have worked on in the past to really inform how this pose should be. But feel the pose in the present moment. Observe areas of dullness and activate them. Come back up to the center, bring your feet parallel, and then step or jump your feet back together. Come back into Tadasana. Observe how your Tadasana feels different to how it did before. Breathe from the bottom of the lungs to the top of the lungs. Exhale from the top to the bottom. Spread the toes of the left foot. Lift up your shorts on the left leg a little if you can, and then bring the right foot up into the leg. Remembering the actions that we were working on last week, bringing those into the present moment. And then raise your arms up. So ideally, arms are in urdhva hastasana, palms facing each other, parallel to each other. I run out of ceiling height, so I have to bring my hands a bit closer. Breathe evenly and allow the breath to maintain the presence and the nowness of the pose. Are you applying muscle memory from previous poses to inform the present? Release your arms, release the leg. Just swap the feet around, spread the toes of the right foot, and then bring that left foot as high up into the thigh as you can. So you can always use something to help you to balance if you need it. Just apply the learning of the past into the present, and then raise your arms. So we learn how to overcome dullness, we learn how to overcome lack of presence. We draw our attention into this present moment now. Maintain the gentleness and depth of the breath, and the gentleness of the jaw and the tongue and the throat. And then release, and then come back into Tadasana. Just be in your Tadasana and observe the presence of the pose. Observe how the body maybe feels different, how your energy perhaps feels different. Does your body feel even on both sides? Are you working evenly on both sides? If you're not, then see if you can instigate that. Stretch your arms forwards, interlock the fingers, turn the palms all the way out, and raise your arms over your head. The Danglyasana. Maintaining your Tadasana. Just maintaining the nowness of the pose. Keeping your attention in the physical body. So we withdraw the senses, pratyahara, in order that we observe what the body is doing now. We allow that to drive our attention. Gently release your arms and then come down onto your knees. So we're going to do a little bit of headstand preparation. If you can do a headstand, then you can go straight up. But I really want to concentrate on the base of the pose. So ideally, you do the if you're going to kick up into a full headstand, you do it by the wall. Otherwise, you can do it in the middle of the room. Just kind of while we kind of focus on the base of the pose. So the base of the pose, whether you're by the wall or not, because if you're not if you're in the middle of the room, then you're not going to kick your feet up, but that's fine. You'll still get the benefit of being upside down. So bring your elbows underneath your shoulders, and then pick up your hands, and then push the elbows really consciously into the floor, and then lengthen into the little finger side of the hand. So the outer wrist really makes contact with the floor. The kind of outer, the little finger side of the hand, the little finger side of the wrist makes contact with the floor. Keep your elbows where they are, and then lengthen the fingers away as you bring the hands together so that they interlock. Keep lengthening into the fingers, and then lengthen the fingers towards the opposite wrist. So it becomes firm rather than kind of a death grip. Bring the thumbs together and then draw the thumbs towards the finger knuckles. Now that might have made your outer wrists lift off the floor. So lengthen into the little finger side and then draw those little fingers down onto the floor. Keep the outer wrist firmly down onto the floor. So lengthen the fingers towards the opposite wrists. Keep the cup of your hands open. Draw your chin in to meet the chest and then bring the top of your head down to the floor. Turn your toes under and then consider how similar this is to dog down. So we're in dog down, you don't let the shoulders bulge outward, the shoulder blades bulge outwards, you suck the shoulder blades in towards the front chest. You activate your legs. So even if you're on tiptoes, push this elbows into the floor, suck the shoulder blades in and just come up onto your head. So your elbows are as wide apart as your shoulders, no wider. Okay, and then if you're just doing the preparation stage, just sit back on your heels and just release and sit back on your heels. So we're going to do that a couple of times. If you're actually in headstand, then of course you just stay in your headstand, but maintain the nowness of the pose. Try not to think about the moment when you can come out of the pose. Just be in the pose, kind of right now, here and now. If you come out of the preparation stage, we'll do that again. Just notice though, when you sit up, that that the body feels different. And then again, bring your elbows down, elbows no wider than your shoulders. Extend interlock the fingers, extend the fingers towards the opposite wrist. Bring the outer wrist down onto the floor, so you have to lengthen into the little finger side. Have your thumbs together, lengthen the thumbs towards the knuckles. Come up onto your knees, tuck your chin into the chest. Place your head, the top of your head onto the floor, pushing your head into your hands, keeping the cup of the hands open, and then dog down in with the legs. So don't let the shoulder blades bulge out. Push the shoulder blades in, lengthen the shoulders away from the ears, and then start to walk in. So that action of sucking the shoulder blades inwards, that is the important stage of the pose to work for. So lengthening your shoulders away from your ears, so really lifting the shoulders away from your ears, and then trying to suck the shoulder blades in towards the front chest. And then walk your feet in. Just breathing evenly and deeply. Okay, and then just release. If you're in headstand, then when you're ready, just bring yourself down. Trying to keep the legs straight as you come down. And then everyone just stretch forwards into Adho Mukha Virasana. If there's tension in your neck, then just come up onto the fingertips, just to release the neck. So just let go of the pose that you have done. Observe how that has affected the body. And just feel the body now. Just observe the body as it is. And then bring your hands underneath your shoulders and then come up into a seated position. Just come down onto your back and come into supta and konasana. So just initially, just to release the body, just let the body release into the floor. Just observe how the pose just almost instantly draws the lower ribs more broadly. How it kind of draws them apart. Your back being flat on the floor, you can feel that the lower ribs protrude a little. So hold onto the lower ribs. And then observe the kind of natural rise and fall of the diaphragm region and of the abdomen with the breath. Just using this pose to realign the spine, using supports underneath your hips if you need them. Just use this pose to really challenge yourself to observe your breath, to observe the physical sensations within the body. And then very gently draw your knees together, have the knees together, the feet apart. And then draw your knees in towards your chest, just have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom. And then just rock yourself up into a seated position. And then come down onto your front. And then come up onto your elbows. Just lift and open the front chest. Extend into your legs. So push your elbows into the floor and feel that you can lengthen the abdomen towards the diaphragm. Diaphragm towards the collarbone, collarbone towards the chin. Lengthening into your elbows. Lengthening into your toes. So we can do bekasana, the half frog pose. So I'll show you. So you're going to bend up the right leg and then you reach around, get hold of the foot. You can just be on the top of the foot to start off with, and then you bring the foot down to the kind of outside edge of the hip. You're not bringing it out to the side. That's going to twist your knee. So you try and bring the inner heel along the outer hip. So that's the first stage. So you lift and open the chest, draw the chest back to face the front. And then maybe you can turn your hand so that your fingers are in the same direction as your toes, and then try and bring the foot down towards the floor, and then we'll do the other side. So it looks really uncomfortable, but it's actually really nice. It's a nice quad stretch. So just come down onto your elbows, lift and open the chest. So feel that the chest is just pointing forwards. And then bend your right knee. Get hold of the top of the foot with your fingers pointing towards your ankle, and then lift the chest, draw the chest back to the front, and then try and bring your foot down. If you can turn so the heel of the heel of the hand is on the top of the feet, top of the foot, lengthening the elbow up towards the ceiling and draw that foot down towards the floor. Breathe evenly, deeply, keeping the chest facing the front. Trying to draw your shoulders level and then release. So you get a really good quad stretch. It's a little bit like supta, virasana, isn't it? Just relax for a moment. Try not to think of where you're going next. Just allow yourself to feel the pose as it happens. So lengthen into both legs and then lift up the left leg. Get hold of the top of the foot and try and draw it down, bringing the chest back to face the front. If you can, you turn the palm around so the heel of the hand is on top of the foot, the fingers pointing in the same direction as the toes. Lengthening the elbow up towards the ceiling, lengthening the foot down towards the floor. Just feeling that quad stretch, trying to keep the knees relatively close together. And then just gently relax the leg. Create a little pillow with your hands and then rest your forehead down on the floor, or down on the backs of your hands. Just releasing into the floor for a moment. And then when your back has recovered, just come down, sit back on your heels, and then stretch forwards into Adho Mukha Virasana. And then just sit back on your heels. And then just come into the cross legs. Just directly on the mat if you can, or just sit on a lift if you need that extra lift. Hold on to your knees. Just make sure that you're feeling evenly placed underneath the knees, underneath the seat bones even. Just lift and open the chest. Draw your chin down to meet your chest for Jalandhara Bandha. Incorporate Mula Bandha, lifting the anal sphincter up towards the diaphragm region, and then just spend a little time just observing the breath, filling the breath, the lungs from the bottom to the top. Almost allowing the in-breath to overflow the jug and to draw energy down into the arms and the legs and the chest. Just maintaining the nowness of the pose. Okay, release Mula Bandha, release Jalandhara Bandha. Just observe the energy of the body, and maybe as you lift your head, how the energy rises up into the head. Take a deep inhalation and then turn to the right. Drawing the abdomen across, the ribs across, the shoulders across. And then come back to the center, hold onto your knees, lift and open the chest, and then turn to the right, the left, the other side. So just refreshing the spine with a spinal twist, turning into your energy. And then gently come back to the center. Just come down onto your back, and we're just going to raise the legs up in viparita karahni. So come down onto your back, hold onto the mat at the sides, like you want to tear the mat apart, turning the crease of the elbows to face up to the ceiling and almost around to the sides of the room. Pull your knees in towards your chest, and then maintain the tailbone in connection with the floor, the sacrum in connection with the floor, and straighten your legs. Press the sacrum spine down onto the floor, really consciously pressing it down onto the floor. Broaden the abdomen so that the abdominal walls draw down to the floor. Just listening to the sound of the breath. Bring in a gentle inversion. Again, just observe the feeling of the pose right now. The nowness of the pose. Don't just draw your attention into the areas that kind of struggle to maintain the action. Draw your attention away from there and into the areas where the body feels soft. Bring energy into those regions. Okay, and then just gently bend your knees and release your legs down to the floor. Get your blanket, just tuck the blanket underneath the shoulders and underneath the neck, just so the blanket's touching the shoulders. Shoulders are on the floor. Take your glasses off if you're wearing them. And then just make sure you're in a really good straight line. And then just stretch out. Just release into sirvasana. Breathe evenly into the pose. Long, slow, deep, deliberate in-breaths. Long, slow, deep, deliberate out-breaths. Just observe the energy that you have created or released through your practice. Feeling that the body becomes heavy on the floor, but then your energy rises to the top of your skin. Just distributing that feeling of energy evenly throughout the body. Just basking in the glow of positive energy. When you're ready to disturb yourself, just wriggle your toes, wriggle your fingers. Just draw your knees in towards your chest. Just have a little rock, a grounding massage on the spine. Just a little rock from side to side. And then roll over onto your right side. Just stay down for a breath or two. Just straighten out the top leg, come back up into a seated position, just a final cross legs with your hands in the masti, just a final spinal lift. Spend a moment just to draw your breath into the abdomen. Samanic breath that just brings your attention to your breath. Be aware of the energy that you released through your practice this morning, that good, positive, healthy flow of clean energy. The extensions and the forward bends, the twists and the inversions bring to the body and to the mind. And then draw your chin down to meet your chest. Spend a moment to acknowledge the positive energy you've created inside. And then send some of that positive energy out into the world. And then release the backs of your hands down towards your knees, palms facing upwards. And as you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open and the focus to softly come back. Thank you very much. So hopefully you feel as though you have released lots and lots of energy, and especially kind of around the solar plexus, and that you have got lots of good energy to put into your day. So thank you very much for joining me.